lives. So we still need to make sure that we are reaching out to what we might term urban Indians in other areas. I don't know if Olympia is urban enough, but that captures all of those people that have been, that live here by choice or through efforts to terminate and the genocide related to the reservation system.
We have Robbi Kesler, City Council position number 2.
Why are you running for City Council, and what are your goals if elected?
I'm Robbi Kesler, running for Olympia City Council position 2. And why am I running? Well, I think that I have the education and experience necessary, and I really want to use that to give back to the community. I'm a Skokomish tribal member. I grew up in Mason County. I went on to college. I earned a full scholarship to study law at Arizona State University, and I immediately returned to this area to work for a local Indian tribe because that's truly my passion. I got the law degree and wanted to give back. Recently, I have quit working because of COVID. I wanted to stay at home with my kids during remote learning, and I really see this as an extension of service. I understand that it's important to bring a wide variety of perspectives to the council, and I think that I bring that. But beyond that, I want to make sure that I would work to understand the issues from a broad range of perspectives and then use that education experience, both lived experience and otherwise, to make practical decisions for the greater good of Olympia. I would like to see a government that is more transparent and inclusive. And that means making sure that you constantly evaluate as you're taking in comments from the community, you reflect and make sure that that comment pool really reflects the community. And I just want to also make sure that when people do stand up and want to be heard, that there is follow through. And I'm not entirely sure that that's happening at the moment. So just in summary, I do believe that lived experience is absolutely important, but I have the background through my education to actually move goals forward. I would base my goals on what I'm actually hearing in the community, not a list that I would bring to the position. I want to make sure that the community drives those goals. Thank you.
Question number 2. Homelessness is a central concern and crisis in our community. A recent plan related to homelessness involves a proposed site for people living in cars and RVs that would relocate vehicles parked on Ensign Road to Martin Way and Carpenter Road. Would you please comment on this proposal, and how would you relate it to a wider plan for homelessness that you would endorse?
So I do believe that some of the responses, such as having a safe place to park vehicles and RVs, is long overdue. I think that the current city council relies on this narrative that the surrounding cities and county have not been supportive, and there is some merit to that, but there needs to be better leadership to require that action. I think that there could be better and more robust legislative priorities regionally, but overall, I absolutely support making sure that there are safer places, more services available to existing places to, existing people that are parking on the streets and in camps. I think that the best response, a compassionate response, is not mutually exclusive to also making sure that we are providing those places in an area that is sensitive to environmental concerns, public health and safety concerns of the entire community, and also making sure that we are providing the services necessary to those in their cars, in their RVs. So I'm in support of it. And I just wish that it was happening faster and that it was probably already online by now. Thank you.
Question number 3. Many consider homelessness and affordable housing as interrelated challenges. Please describe how you understand the relationship between homelessness and affordable housing, and please name your goals and methods for expanding affordable housing in our region and city.
Thank you. Absolutely, they are intertwined. And I think that this answer needs to address a couple of different things. So first of all, making sure that people stay housed absolutely needs to be part of the homelessness discussion. And I'm not sure that that's always at the table. It's really easy to focus on the more visible attributes of homelessness, but we need to make sure that those people that do need just a little bit of help to stay where they're at and thrive there are supported as well in any response. And then in terms specifically of affordable housing, I tend to agree with what's already been said, and that is that a focus on truly affordable housing needs to take place. We need to make sure that we are working with other entities, the state, the federal governments, because the city of Olympia really can't solve that by itself. And I think that it's important to make sure that we do focus on what the city can do and then really elevate the discussion beyond the city to be protecting our residents and making sure that there are affordable housing. One thing that's come up in a prior debate is discussing home ownership and diversifying the options available out there. I think that making sure that units such as condominiums are part of that solution as we continue to grow kind of the saying up, not out. And that would require some changes at the state level. So that just goes back to my overall priority of making sure that we are tackling issues focused on Olympia, but then also making sure that we identify ways that we can change laws at the state and federal level. So it's absolutely intertwined, and I want to make sure that we are broadening the discussion to include keeping people housed and making sure that units as they come online are affordable. And if they're not, being ready to ask why and how we can do better to advocate for our residents.
The Squaxin Island Tribal Council recently signed a memorandum of understanding with the city of Olympia, and the Squaxin tribal flag was raised at this signing and will now be a permanent part of the flag display over City Hall of Olympia. Describe the importance of this MOU and the role that you would like to see regional tribes play in the ongoing stewardship of these lands.
So describe the importance. Wow, I mean, it's very important. I am a tribal member, Skokomish tribal member, and I have devoted my professional life to working with tribes. It's important to note that tribes are sovereign governments. So of course, this government to government relationship should be recognized and honored. In terms of future work, I want to make sure that this action is carried through in a respectful way, that it continues to be upheld, that the government to government relationship is respected. It's always important to make sure that actions that you're doing are not performative. And I just really hope that this is a great stepping stone to greater things to come within the city, within the region, and all of that. A couple of other things to point out. A government to government relationship is not the same as making sure that you are still communicating effectively with tribal people that live here. Not all tribal members and descendants that live here are descendants from local tribes. So we still need to make sure that we are reaching out to what we might term urban Indians in other areas. I don't know if Olympia is urban enough, but that captures all of those people that have been that live here by choice or through efforts to terminate and the genocide related to the reservation system. So making sure that we're still trying to find those diverse voices and let them be heard is an important goal. And then also separate from that, but important, is the continued government to government relationship. So those are passions of mine. I support what the council has done. It's perhaps long overdue, but I'm celebrating it from the sidelines right now. And if elected, I would certainly prioritize the continued elevation of Native voices in this community. Thank you.
Anything else in closing that you would like our audience to know about you and your plans of what you will bring to this position?
Thank you, Interfaith Works, for putting this together. Thank you to anyone that has listened. I invite you to please reach out. I think I echo kind of a theme of the day, which is we do need change. And I believe that I have the experience, education, and background to help guide that change. I want to make sure that I hear from numerous voices. I have a history of working with tribal people. The first job that I had at the tribe was as a grant-funded legal researcher tasked with making sure that the tribal code was not only legally up to date and in order, but also working directly with tribal youth, tribal elders, the elected body, staff, to identify gaps and priorities, particularly as we were looking at the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act. It was really important to make sure that the code was up to date so that they could exercise the additional jurisdiction to keep their members safe. Additionally, I've worked at the State House of Representatives and making sure that I know how to draft laws that prioritize what the individual wanted. I know how laws should be written, how they interact, and how they can effectively do what the community wants. So I just, again, want to make sure that everyone understands that I do see a government that is inclusive and transparent and working to address the goals of all of those in the community. So I would challenge groupthink, challenge the status quo, but also work extremely hard to see a community that we truly want to live in, and that is compassionate and welcoming as we continue to grow, and tackling the big issues in a way that the community guides. So I have the experience, I have the education, and I really want to do best by everyone. Thank you.
Well, thanks to all of our candidates who are here with us today.
Anyone that watches my videos is by definition a good person.